Today on the channel, I'm going to show you my amp collection. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at my amplifier collection, and I'm going to give you a brief rundown of my amplifiers and what I've got here in my collection, and we'll show you basically a rundown of what you see behind the scenes in the videos and some of the stuff that you probably don't see. We'll start off with this side here on the left. This is my Marshall JCM 900. This baby is 100 watts. It's got a switch on the back that'll bring it down to 50. It's got an effects loop. This thing sounds total 90s if you want to get that Green Day, that Bush sound. It's really cool, man. I dig it. I'm going to do a video on this amp soon, a surprise video coming up. This is my Marshall Plexi, or MK2 for you purists out there. Plexis ended, I believe, around 69 when they had a plexiglass front to them. This one has got the aluminum or the metal front for input. This is 50 watts. This thing is a beast. If you haven't seen my video where I dime this thing on my deck, go check it out. Thing is really loud. These are the original 1974 cabinets. They have brownback cabinet or brownback Celestians in them. Someone told me that the greenbacks were also the brownbacks, that they ran out of the green backs and made them with brown, but they sound fantastic. These are my favorite cabinets. Killer cabinets, 4x12s. I like the basket weave. All this damage on the front is really, it's just from them being old and them touring. Rumor has it that this amp and these cabinets were owned by the band that sang Black Betty. Ram Jam is the name of the band. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I heard. Moving over here to the right side, we've got my Mesa Boogie DC5. This is kind of the red-headed stepchild of Mesa Boogie amplifiers. The DC5 is, it kind of looks like an MK5. It's kind of got that sound to it. It definitely sounds like Metallica. This is 50 watts. I like it because it's got a clean channel and it's got the crunch channel and super overdrive. I like the global EQ. And you can engage all this stuff with a foot switch. It's got an effects loop on the back and the slave input, so you can slave this through a Marshall, kind of like Metallica did in the old days, and get that overdriven Marshall sound with a boogie in front. Moving on, well, real quick, I got this Mesa Boogie. I had to drive down to Huntsville, Alabama. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. Drove down to Huntsville, Alabama. I picked this baby up for like $350, man. That was a steal. Had it for a few years. Got this Carvin Legacy. Found this thing at a Guitar Center a while back. They had two of them taken in on trade. Got this thing real affordable. Love the Steve Vai Legacy amplifier. This is the first series of the Legacy. It's got a reverb channel. It's got a clean and a distorted channel. Effects loop on the back. It's 100 watts of pure power. This amp sounds just like Steve Vai's Ultrazone. It totally has that Steve Vai voicing. Not sure what this cabinet is right here. I think it's an 8412 cabinet that came with the valve state amplifiers back in the day, or the MG series. But these 8412 cabinets are nice. Someone has replaced this grill cloth on this cabinet. It's not really a cloth; it's a piece of metal. Looks like cloth, but I like the way it looks. It's I love seeing the speaker cabinets inside of it. I don't know if those speakers, I don't know if the speakers have been replaced in this or not, but this cabinet sounds great. I think I picked this cabinet up for like $150. Fantastic deal. And then this is my Friedman BE 100 cabinet. This thing is like 5/8 inch birch. This thing is heavier than a dinosaur. This cabinet sounds great. It's got vintage 30s and greenbacks in it. So love this cab. Down here is a Laney cabinet that I found. A lot of this stuff I get deals on, so I just buy them, And I got this Laney for about $200. It's a 4x12. This Laney sounds really nice. It's got a stereo input on the back, so I can run two heads at once. Same thing as this Behringer. A lot of people bag on Behringers because they're kind of affordable, and sometimes they're known as really cheap stuff. But this Behringer cabinet, it came with a Bujera head, but this thing, I don't have the head obviously, but I've got the cabinet. It's also a stereo amplifier or stereo cabinet, so I can run two heads at once in stereo. So if I bi-amp during a gig. Here's a neat find that I found a while back. This is a Hughes and Kettner 100-watt duotone. This thing's nice. I don't have it plugged in, but the LEDs don't work on it. So if you look on the inside, I ran some LEDs on it and inside there, and I can change the colors from red to yellow to green, all sorts of colors. In the intro to my video, you see me turn this amplifier on, and it's red. So I can make this amp just about any color. It sounds great, man. It's got a clean on the channel 1. It's got crunch. It's got overdrive. Got 3 channels, all separate EQs and global EQs for all the channels. It's got a great distorted sound. This amp is a lion, man. It is so loud, but it can also play quiet. It's got a really interesting crunch. Now this amplifier is a Marshall Artist 3203. It's a tube and solid state amp combined. This was my first Marshall. I've owned this amp since I was 18. I was going to go see Motley Crue, Dr. Feelgood on tour, and the tickets I think were 55, 65 bucks, and my tax refund that year was about 120 bucks, and I spent my tax refund on this amp instead of Motley Crue tickets. I asked myself, what would Mick Mars do? Would he go to a concert? Would he buy a Marshall? And my answer was he'd buy the Marshall. So I missed Dr. Feelgood, but I got this amp, and I've owned it since I was a senior in high school, and I will not get rid of it because it's just got a lot of memories. This thing really sounds good. It's got a really nice sound to it. All right, moving down here, these are my Egnater 1x12 cabinets. I bring these babies to gigs with me. I put my Friedman on top of these. They sound awesome. You can pick these things up usually for like 150 bucks or so used. I highly recommend them. They're extremely light and they sound fantastic. You can run them together. The Egnater heads that you can run with them sound great, but I sold my Egnater head. Egnater heads are a little unreliable, and I kept having trouble with my Egnaters. So I kept the cabinets just because they sound so darn good and they're light and great for doing gigs. Sound guys hate it when you bring 412s to gigs because they just freak out, even though even if you don't plan on jamming on them really loud, they freak out. So when you bring these in, it kind of calms the sound guy down a little bit, makes your life easier. Here's my Peavey Wiggy. This is a Dweezil Zappa Wiggy amplifier. These things are so cool, man. They really sound good. People rip on these things all the time, but really, I mean, when you check this thing out, I mean, it lights up like a car. I'll turn out my lights in my room, so when you see this, when you see the way that it looks, it's kind of looks like an old car. I heard it was supposed to look like Dweezil Zappa's, like his Aston Martin or a vintage car that he's got, like the dashboard. But this thing, just as an Art Deco conversation piece, is cool enough. Got this thing for just over 300 bucks for the whole stack. I love it. Takes pedals really cool. The front of it is interesting. The gauges on it and the dials. It takes a while to kind of get used to what they do. I've got a video on my channel that showcases this amplifier as well if you want to check that out. All right, let's check out over here. Here's my Friedman Mini BE. These things are really cool. I don't play this thing a lot just because I just don't play it a lot. I made this Friedman fake Friedman cabinet. This was a Vox solid state amplifier that died, so I did a video on this, and I made the amplifier into a speaker cabinet, and I run my Mini BE through this little striped Vox amp. And then here's a small little Marshall 1x12 that kicks some serious butt. This thing is cool, man. Found this at a pawn shop for about 120 bucks, so I picked it up, and I love it. I run my you can run a head in front of it. You can run this little Friedman in front of it just fine. It sounds great, and it's lightweight. All right, let me turn this little Peavey off. Then my over here, You can see these are my Rockmans that I run when I do my Boston lessons. I love Rockmans. I guess you could consider that an amplifier. So I've got my Rockman equipment, and then when you come down here, my Fractal Axe 8 that I run all my stuff through YouTube pretty much exclusively is my Fractal Axe 8. Love this thing. I've recently moved stuff around a lot, so my cable management right now is atrocious. I've got a couple days off, so I'm going to spend some time organizing and sorting through all my stuff. It's in dire need. All right, last but not least, downstairs next to my couch, got my Fender Champ. This is my old reliable Champ. I probably play this amp more than anything. I run my pedals in front of it. I write songs on it. I learn songs. I write charts. That thing is a killer amp. This thing is a 76 Fender Champ. Here is a sparkle green 2x12 that I picked up about 150 bucks. I love it. It's got greenbacks in it. And then my favorite amp is my Friedman BE100. So this is my road gig. This is what I travel and play gigs with when I have gigs. So I keep this kind of by itself. Yeah, my BE100. Old reliable, my favorite amp in the world, right there. That and my Champ. So my two standbys right here. Love them. Well, I hope you enjoyed this kind of content. If you did, please consider subscribing. And have a great day. Peace out.